Alhamdulillah, we are now ready to start the main topic or the main lecture of our annual winter conference, the final lecture delivered by our esteemed guest, Hazrat Sheikh Dr. Mahmood Chandia, Hafidhahullah. Inshallah, if I could just firstly request the brothers who are here, if you could just slightly just come a bit more closer to the Sheikh, inshallah. There's lots of gaps, inshallah, especially the students at the back, inshallah, and the students at the back there. Just come a bit more closer so that we can be part of the majma and the gathering. Jazakallah khair, inshallah. Now, Hazrat Sheikh Mahmood Chandia, Hafidhahullah, is a very well-known, prominent figure in the da'wah scene from our Darul Ilm graduates here in the UK. Hazrat is one of the earlier graduates of Darul Ilm, and I was just speaking to Hazrat upstairs now that my first recollection of Sheikh was in 1999. I'm sure before many were even born here, where our Hazrat, when I say our Hazrat, we're referring to Hazrat Mona Yusuf Mutala Rahimullah, who was the founder of Darul Ilm, initiated a congratulation kind of program when Hazrat achieved a doctorate in his studies. And this was the very first time where I met Hazrat Sheikh Mahmood Chandia, Hafidhahullah. And then from there onwards, every now and then he would come to Darul Ilm. He would deliver some lectures and bayans. And also his lectures were widely available. Well, we didn't have online in those days, were mainly cassettes or CDs. And we as Darul Ilm students would always listen to Sheikh's lectures and also his very high quality English to kind of improve our English as well. So Alhamdulillah, Sheikh's been a very inspirational figure for me. At the moment, Sheikh is teaching in Darul Ilm Bolton and also at the place of one of our ustads, Hazrat Maulana Abdul Rahim Saab's place, i.e. Tafsir Rahimi. So he's also teaching there as well, inshallah. So Sheikh will, inshallah, deliver the final lecture today. I request all the brothers, inshallah, to pay attention, sisters as well, inshallah. And as I said before, after the program, we'll have Isha. And then after Isha, inshallah, there'll be food served. Please don't go without eating, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Without any further delay, Hazrat Sheikh Mahmood Chandia, Hafidhullah.
I've just arrived yesterday from a trip abroad, and I had promised Hazrat Mufti Saab this attendance at this event for some time. So I wanted to honor that agreement and attend here today. Is there anybody sat here, at least those that I can see, who doesn't have a British citizenship? Doesn't have a British passport? Just one? Two? Don't worry, I'm not going to go into the reasons behind this. I'm not an immigration officer. But the reason why I ask this question, but brothers who may not have a British passport will have probably lived here for some time. Correct? No? Well, we will not go into that then. But this day, i.e. today, is special across the Western world. The world sort of stops. Everybody becomes a good person. Everybody shows their human spirit, even to animals, more than before. What is it about a day in a year that changes somebody's mindset. Further, do you also know that despite this day being special, for whatever reason it may be special, there are nearly 1.5 million people who will be eating alone today. 1.5 million people. There will be 600,000 odd people who will not see anybody today, not talk with anybody today. This is the same country which has over 60 million people, nearly 65 million people living. And in today's world, talking with somebody through smartphones, through Zoom, through Teams, through alternative means besides face-to-face, is not a difficult thing. So how come one of the biggest problems of our age, social issues, is loneliness? Imagine not being able to speak with anybody for a full year, not in contact with anybody. The only human interaction you may have is with the TV screen. Because not everybody knows how to use a mobile phone. In fact, I would quite confidently claim that there isn't anybody sat here today, whether it's in the sisters or here among the men, who can claim that they are the champion of their own phone, that they know every functionality on their smartphone. So how come in such an age, one of the growing concerns is loneliness? And what did we do about it? What do we learn? What lessons can we draw from the life of the best of creation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's life that is documented, that is taught here. There is a lot of information that is available after he became a prophet, peace be upon him. Nevertheless, there is information available about that part of his life, which was the major part of his life when he was not a prophet. Because he was not a prophet for 40 years and he was a prophet for 23 years. So what are the lessons for us to draw from his blessed life that gives us some sense of responsibility in the country that we habit and live in? What is our social responsibility? Before we understand this, on your mobile phones, if you were to visit Sky News, one of the top stories is how many people will be eating alone today. Nearly 1.5 million, 1.4 million. Imagine on Eid day, elderly people were unable to come out of their houses or flats because of their disabilities. They were unable to listen to the Eid khutbah. They were unable to enjoy the biryani or the pilau or the handesh. And nobody would talk with them. they have nobody to say Eid Mubarak to, because their children have deserted them, or they have grown up and gone away. Imagine such a world. This is why Rasul alayhi salatu was salam showed us in a very practical sense our social responsibility. This is not just a question of who is elderly and who is young. This is happening around us, yet we remain unaware. The hadith that I cited to you, and Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, جاء رجل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him two questions. And question number one, who is the best individual? Question number two, which is the best action? We all want to be the best individual, the best meaning the most beloved to Allah. And we all want to do that action which is, i.e., the most beloved to Allah. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said that individual is the best individual who anfa'uhum linnas, who is the most beneficial to mankind. How many times have you heard a medically qualified doctor who is sacrificing 2 months and he will stay abroad in a conflict zone or in a third world country for no pay at all, sacrificing his time and his services just to be of benefit to mankind? There is a movement within the UK that comes once a year. Act of kindness. Donate a minute of kindness. A minute. And then it goes into millions of minutes. So the question, who is the most beloved to Allah Rabbul Alameen? The answer is that individual who is the most beneficial to mankind, i.e., who can be most helpful to mankind. If we delve into, that's one question. If we delve into the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first time he received revelation, wahi, Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi describes this episode where he, in one of his trips to the cave of Hira, he saw Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam in his original form. Some of us, on a dark wintry night like tonight, if you were just to see a black shadow outside on that football pitch, we'd run a mile. Or if a dog, maybe of dark color, and you could not see, starts barking wildly, we may well run. Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam is seen, and if you've visited Makkatul Mukarramah and you've had the opportunity to climb that hill and view the scene around it, Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam is described as absolutely covering that whole horizon. And that's a scene. This frightened Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam. It overwhelmed him. And he had this experience. He received the first revelation. Then he ran back to Khadija al-Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And he was shivering. And he said, the Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi says, فَلَمَّا رَجَعَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ يَرْجُفُ فُؤَادُهُ. When he returned, his palpitations were high. His breathing was very high. And he relayed to Khadija al-Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha the whole narrative, the whole story. And he was shivering. He says, زَمِّلُونِي زَمِّلُونِي إِنِّي خَشِيتُ عَلَى نَفْسِي. Cover me, cover me. I fear for myself. He thought he was going to die because of his experience. As a human being, to see what he had seen and receive what he had received overwhelmed him. Khadijatul Kubra radiallahu ta'ala anha, Allah bless her, played the role of a very noble wife. Because Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam thought, who's going to believe me? She said, Kalla la yukhzika Allahu abada. Never, Allah will never humiliate and embarrass you. Then she goes on to give some reasons. And the reasons are what we need to understand, because they also help us to understand the answer to the first question. And the first question was, who is the best individual? And the answer was that individual who is most beneficial to mankind. Think of the last time we did something for no gain, no personal gain, just to help the individuals. There are people of no faith, people who may doubt in Allah, people who may be atheists, but the humanity that they demonstrate for other human beings is beyond question. So Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam is comforted by the words of Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha. She says, you will never be embarrassed. لأن إنك تصدق الحديث. You speak the truth. To have an understanding of what the value of the tongue is. When Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's Quranic messages were not accepted, he had to find an alternative way to explain the truthfulness of Islam. And he said, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ قَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا ائْتِ بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا أَوْ بَدِّلْهُ. So when the verses, clear verses of the Holy Quran were being recited, the people of Quraysh said, bring another Quran or change it. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam responded by saying, it is not up to me. This is a revelation that is sent to me. I'm just following the revelation. However, this is the alternative way he explained now. قُلْ لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا تَلَوْتُهُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا أَدْرَاكُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ لَبِسْتُ فِيكُمْ أُمُورًا مِّن قَبْلِهِ فَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. If Allah Rabbul Alameen willed, I would not have recited these verses upon you, nor would you have found out about them. But I have remained among you for a long period, 40 years. Do you then not understand? The reason, brothers, why I asked you who has a British passport, because we're probably on the third generation now in the UK. In most families. So we have lived here a very long time. Are we in a position to say to anybody who asks us about Islam, we have lived among you for so long, have you not recognized Islam yet? The same tongue, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is saying, proof of my authenticity, my truthfulness is my tongue. If we want to know our value, then ask the people how truthful we are. Who is trusted and who is not trusted. In our business dealings, in our taxes, in the way we serve in our restaurants and takeaways, in our marketplaces, in our shops. Can we be trusted? People who engage with you, interact with you, social interact with you, professional interact with you, know you. This is the proof that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is offering. You will have heard the story of Hijrah multiple times. You will have heard that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam was in his house, he told Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to stay. And the Quraysh had planned, because they did not like the strength of voice that the Muslim community were gaining. So they said, if we appoint a young person from every tribe to stand outside his dwelling, and as soon as he comes out, we will assassinate him. That was the plan. But even when Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam has this concocted plan of an assassination attempt against him, let us remind ourselves why he instructed Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to remain behind. Because Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, despite not being liked for the message that he was communicating, all the trust, amanah, the people of Makkah and Quraysh, they were leaving them with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If somebody doesn't like a Muslim, for whatever reason, are they going to leave their valuable possessions with him or her in today's day and age? Muslims don't leave their valuable possessions with other Muslims. So are the non-Muslims going to leave? This is the scenario of how truthful Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam was. How he was seen. Despite being enemy number one, he was still trusted with the valuables. This is why Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was instructed to remain behind and ensure that every valuable is given back to the person who is the right owner of it. Then you can only come to Madinatul Munawwara. Can you imagine a scenario where you are the most wanted and you are the individual who holds people's trusts and valuables? And you need to think, why are they attacking me? I'm holding their valuables. That would be your defense. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam harbored no enmity. He appointed Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Quran says, Wallahu ya'asimuka minan nas. Allah will protect you. Because there was a delegation of youths from every tribe that were waiting to pounce on him. But he had departed from his house. Rasul, this is the value of the tongue. The Khadijatul Kubra radiallahu ta'ala, when you speak the truth. And people know you as the trusted one, the honest one. So even under the most grossly negative circumstance, they just trust you. They may disagree with your message, but they trust you. Are we in a similar position? We need to question our existence. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, he was away from his home. You all know the story. He ended up in Egypt. And in Egypt, Allah Rabbul Alameen granted him that status where he now becomes the Chancellor of the Exchequer. As a consequence of his noble actions, the surrounding areas benefited for a number of years. Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, as a muhajir in Egypt, as an emigrant, our forefathers did hijrah here. And some have come here on the back of two hijrahs, i.e. moved away from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Middle East, Afghanistan, or wherever, to somewhere else, then from somewhere else came to the UK. Two hijrahs. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's companions did hijrah attempt number 1 to Habasha, Abyssinia. Hijrah attempt number 2 to Ta'if. And number 3 to Madinatul Munawwara. But wherever they went, the people did not disagree with the person, they disagreed with the religion. That's the difference. Are we in the same position? What values can we draw? I said one of the social issues of today is loneliness. How long does it take to call somebody and say, how are you doing? Hope you have a good day. There will be so many elderly individuals in Birmingham City who will have not talked with anybody today. Their only contact with the outside world is through the TV or radio. They will be eating alone. If you had to eat every single day alone, how would you feel? Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam was known as Khalilullah. The books write he became Khalilullah for a number of reasons. But he never ate alone. He waited for somebody. A simple, basic human action that is beneficial to the other individual. When you are offered food, when you're hungry, how does that feel? You will give du'as from the bottom of your heart to that individual. If somebody's gone to town to extend the warmest hospitality, how do you feel? Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught us one of the biggest social values that we must have is whenever we speak the truth. Because you're recognized by that. Not to commit fraud, you're recognized by that. إِنَّكَ لَتَصْدُقُ الْحَدِيثِ وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَلَّ. You take on the burden of other people. وَتُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الْحَقِّ. You are supportive of rightful causes. وَتَقْرِ الضَّيْفَ. You extend your warmest hospitality for your guests. How many people gave a pot of food or a present to their neighbor because it's a special day for them? Whether you agree with it being Christmas or not is a different matter. But a lot of the people, like the census data of the UK indicates, less than 1 in 2 believe they are Christian. So it's become cultural now. Our social interaction is what won the day for Islam historically. When the Muslims entered Africa, and there are a number of reasons historically, one of the entry points was for trade and commerce, business. And they learned Muslim first, then Islam second. Because the Muslim that they saw was an absolute honest individual. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is answering this question. Who is the best individual? Is that individual who is best for others. He himself, you will have heard of Salman Farsi. There were 2 main empires in those days, the Roman and the Persian. The Persian was the longer one, the oldest one. The Roman Empire was a baby empire in front of the Persian Empire. Both fell to the Muslims in the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in the year 637-38. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam saw that Salman Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was a slave under the care of a Jewish individual. And he was given the contract that if you were to plant 300 palm trees and also give me 40 gold coins, you can be freed. Have you ever planted one tree, especially a palm tree? Who's ever planted a tree here by themselves? We have no idea the work that goes into it. Have you ever visited an orchard? Next time you go to Madinatul Munawwara, ask somebody, one of the locals, whether you can go and visit one of these places that the dates you're buying from. and go and have a look. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam wanted to give humanity status to the slaves of Makkah and Medina. And there was a package of measures that he introduced within society. Best for the society. Who is best for society? That's the best individual. And one of the package of measures that he introduced, that is to liberate slaves, because they were treated awfully. Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu was a slave. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, he himself took it upon himself. Khadijatul Kubra says, you take on the burden of others, to plant those 300 trees himself. 300 trees. Those of you who have a garden, just try planting one rose plant and look after it. You will find out how much patience is required. And he also, after the 300 palm trees were planted, he himself gave those 40 gold coins, after which Salman Farsi was liberated and freed. Salman Farsi is that companion who gave Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam the idea of the trench in the Battle of Khandak, Battle of the Trench. Because this was a strategy of war that nobody knew in Arabia. The Persians adopted it. There is a study going on at the moment with a Dr. Abdullah Hafiz Alim, mashallah, an academic, written 2 books on the amyal, the mileage system in Arabia at the time. And also, they're doing one series on that path which he has walked many times of the Hijrah. And don't be surprised in future years that you are able to go through, whether you go through by tram, or you go through by tube, or you go through by car, the same route that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam used for Hijrah. Because he's worked on it for many years. And I mention his name because at the moment there's a partnership between him and his institute and the University of Exeter to look at the engineering behind the Khandak. Because in those days, to dig out a trench, especially where you have the highland and the mountains, how was it done? Nowadays, we don't think twice because of JCBs and industrial drills. How was it done is a bit of a research project. And within a few years, that will be shared with the world. So he, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, freed Salman Farsi. These are examples of social actions that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam did to benefit mankind. His strategy was to win the hearts and minds of human beings. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala comes before him, i.e. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, in a state of vengeance, anger. That individual who came to slay, cut the neck of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is the same individual who leaves his heart in the lap of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. This was through social interaction. If this country has a problem of loneliness, we don't think loneliness is an issue within our community, but what about other people? Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam's contribution to a place which was foreign to him was that he lifted that community and granted it economic well-being. And when truth was told, even the ladies of the palace said he is absolutely innocent. What is our legacy? On such days, when people have become good-natured, what is that action that we will be passing on so the next generations can safely live with Iman in this country? Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's life is telling us. The second part of the hadith. Ayyul a'mali ahabbu ilallah. Which action is the best? Which person is the best? Which action? Sururun tudkhiluhu fi qalbi Muslim. Happiness that you may enter into a heart of a believer. Just happiness. Making somebody feel well and bring a smile to somebody's face. The hadith states in Allah yuhibbu sahla talq. Allah Rabbul Alameen likes those individuals who are smiley. Not serious faced, not gloomy faced. A face where people, when they look at, they feel happy. Allahu Akbar. أو تكشف عنه كربة, or you alleviate, you remove some difficulty from another individual. If somebody is in tension, stress, difficulty, then Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's guidance is you relieve that. أو تطرد عنه جوعا, or you remove hunger from somebody. Hunger. To feed somebody. Who is the best individual and what is the best action? That is what we call ma'ruf. Kind deeds, goodness, good deeds, customary actions. But a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam informs us, when he asked his companions, كيف أنتم إذا يكون المعروف منكرا والمنكر معروفا? What will your state be when good will become bad and bad will become good? Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's companions were so pure that they asked, أَسَيَكُونُ ذَلِكَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ? Will this happen? Good becomes bad and bad becomes good. In today's day and age, it's much easier to understand that good becomes bad and bad becomes good. The societal values totally flip over. That what was seen at one time as good is now seen bad. And what was seen as bad is now being seen good. Deception, fraud, lying, tongue twisting, being fork-tongued is seen as a value, a skill. To bend the truth, to be creative in telling a story, being economical in telling the truth is seen as a skill. The companions were absolutely in surprise. I said, will this happen? بَشَدُّ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. More severe than this will happen. وَمَاذَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ يَعْمُرُ النَّاسِ بِالْمُنْكَرِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمَعْرُوفِ. People will command towards bad things and prevent from good things. Look at the society around us, brothers. In this country, there wasn't a time before that on such a day that people look forward to where the world, I said, stops in the Western Hemisphere. On such a day, it was unheard of that people would be lonely. It was unheard of that people would be eating alone. It was unheard of that people do not have time for other human beings. In my town, Bolton, in many towns, local masjids have an initiative that they provide a soup kitchen on days like this, December 25th. And if individuals cannot come to that soup kitchen or to the masjid to pick up the food, then they will go and deliver it. I know masjids in the northwest, and I am a witness to this with my very own eyes, that on Friday when people come for Jumu'ah, they will bring some canned food or bread or anything, or even give a donation. And that food or that donation is used to buy food so that those who are hungry and on the streets, they come, and I have seen these individuals come from the street and they leave smiling. No questions, no nothing. And those are the individuals who are saying the good things on the streets about Islam. Because social interaction, the social value of the masjid, of the Muslim community is being felt by practical actions. The same sunnah that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam showed before he became a prophet. Clothing individuals, giving them their washroom because, or a bathing place because they are unable, because they're living on the street, to wash themselves. This year, if we look back, those individuals, when that masjid was being attacked, or masjids were being attacked up and down the country, who was protecting them? Local populations who did not believe in a God, because their human nature was coming out. Now, how do we reciprocate to that? These are the lessons that we need to learn of social values that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught us. In a time where I said good is becoming bad and bad is becoming good. People instruct about the bad, assuming it to be good, and prevent from good, assuming it to be bad. And in such a ambience and atmosphere, the next generations are growing up. And how do we preserve and safeguard and protect the iman of the next generations? That one value that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam has taught us. How do you socially interact with other communities? And you stay loyal to your own principles. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam taught us. We're coming towards Isha time, so I will conclude before that the main value is that we understand it is internal beauty that is the most valuable thing, not external beauty. When the treasures of Bahrain and around Arabia came to the feet of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, the companions comes and reports, Ya Rasulullah, we have the treasures here. So Paul, go and heap them up in the masjid. He came for the scheduled prayer time. After he performed it, he stood by it and distributed every dinar and dirham, every gold and silver coin. Who would have taken issue if he would have kept something for himself, but he didn't? He showed the world how, despite having accesses to the best resources and riches of the world, this was valueless before him. And that his creator is happy with him, that is the greatest value. Innal ghina ghina nafs. We hear this in Jummah khutbah every week. That the richness of your soul is the richness to have. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam Bukhari rahmatullah has a section called Kitabul Maghazi, all the battles that took place. How many scholars differ? 15, 16, 17, 18, some more. Have you ever heard one hadith where Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is described as going to the gym or exercising? He used to walk. Watch the walk of a young person nowadays. He used to walk, and the companions used to struggle to walk behind him. He was such a fit man. Yet, he is one of the first in the lines of battle. Go to the Topkapi Museum in Istanbul or other museums that claim to have Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's sword or any companion's sword. Although it may be glass, but those are heavy things. And to hold it in one hand and ride your camel or horse and fight at the same time, especially when you're only surviving on dates and water. Where did that strength come from? After a 15, 16-hour fast, if Imam Sahib in Maghrib Salah decides to read a long surah, he's had it. His history. That's us. These companions, the Imam Kitab al-Maghazi, Imam Bukhari, Rahmatullah, they never thought of food going into battle. That sacrifice is how we are Muslims today. But they taught us social interaction and its importance. That Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam and his companions taught us. In today's day and age, Microsoft, who has not heard of that company? Amazon, who has not heard of that company? Alphabet, the parent company. X, Tesla, Google, who has not heard of these companies? Those 5-6 companies collectively are worth more than some of the greatest economies of the world, even today. If you add that wealth together of these companies, it's 1/3 of the American stock market value. That's the influence of these companies. These are not companies, these are individuals who own these companies on the world today. A young child now, what do they want? They want this thing. In homes, you will find them glued to their phone. If you want to see the true colors of a young person, take the phone off him or her. You will see the reaction. So in this world of social media, one big lesson we are forgetting is social interaction. Go to restaurants, you will find people sat around the table supposedly having a meal, and they will all be on their phones. Social interaction has been compromised because of social media. To bring a smile to somebody's face, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam says that is one of the best actions you can do. If only we lifted that phone up or knocked on our next door neighbor, how are you? Have a lovely day. Whether we believe in Christmas or not is a different matter. The fact that it is somebody's special day in their life and we brought a smile to their face, that smile will change their hearts about you as a Muslim. Time is going on and we need to perform Isha Salah. So I started off one of the main items of news today. You can check it later on. How many people have ate by themselves today? How many people did not see another human being today? How many people are feeling lonely? This is throughout the year, not just today. But people feel it more on special days. Imagine if you were by yourself on Eid day. You were unable to come to the masjid for Eid Salah. Unable to go outside. You're trapped in your own home. Imagine how that would feel. May Allah Rabbul Alameen grant us the ability to understand our social responsibility. Grant us the ability to see the truth as it is and follow it, and grant us the ability to understand lies, deception, roguishness, and grant us the ability to stay away from them. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.